Hi there. Welcome to the Mindset Mastery Summit, a free online training summit where we're discussing how to shift your mindset for greater joy, inner peace, and resilience in order to live your best life. I'm your host, Shelly Roberts. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Cynthia Mazzaferro, life coach and energy healer. Cynthia is a visionary and motivational speaker, international award winner, and #1 best-selling author, energy, medical, and intuitive healer, Reiki master, and powerful beyond measure life coach. Cynthia is a recognized expert on bridging the science between spirit and our limitless human potential. She's a master energy practitioner and an authority on emotional clearing and energetic healing that addresses negative subconscious memory and emotional debris that impacts our health and human performance. Cynthia helps one master their internal experiences regardless of their external environment. Her passion is to assist people in their personal growth, establishing their inner and outer health, and awakening their passion and purpose. So awesome to have you on the summit today, Cindy.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to having this interview with you and sharing some information with the audience.
Yes, great. Well, let's start with your new book.
Okay, great. My new book is Powerful Beyond Measure,
Awesome.
3 Steps to Claim Your Power Within for a Happy and Healthy Life. And it's an amazing book. It had received an International Book Award right here. That's why it's worn, because my hands are always on it. But it's broken down into 3 parts, and it's exploring your past, embracing your present, and really envisioning a future that's limitless. And so we go through the 3 parts of that, which is our life, and how we can never get rid of our past, but we do need to deal with the perceptions, what I call the emotional wounding, or that limiting belief that we've taken on, which affects our present and it even affects our future. So I know we'll get into that a little bit more, but it's a wonderful book that offers, gives you 6 free gifts in it too, a workbook. And no matter how many times you go through the book, you're always self-discovering more and really changing the way you view about yourself, as well as how you can impact your life.
Oh, that's amazing. And the book has a workbook as part of it to walk you through exercises?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
So what is the relationship of our past, like our traumas in our youth or perceived hurts in our youth, and how that kind of carries with us into adulthood and affects how we think about things and react to things?
Right, and it changes our mindset, and that's why I kind of was appealing to your summit, because the Mindset Mastery Summit. And our mindset is, well, let me first define how our mind is, how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Our mind is kind of a data storage base. It's kind of like your computer storage. And so we're always remembering what we've done in the past, our experiences. And primarily, the brain wants to memorize negative experiences, the time you failed on the test, the time you failed on your diet, when you were laughed at, or when you fell on your butt.
Yeah.
And so it's always trying to protect us from experiencing those negative experiences in life again. And so it puts up fear, and that mindset is really based on your memory of your past. So where does that come from? So that makes us need to go back to our younger days. And even in utero, we know that if you're pregnant and you read to the child, and you play music, that the fetus responds to it. Well, also, if you're pregnant and you're very fearful of not knowing if the child's going to be healthy, or you're very anxious and you're having difficult time in your pregnancy, that energy is going to be felt by the baby. And I've worked with many clients who have actually even said, I never felt wanted in my entire life. And that was because the mother struggled with, do I abort this child? Do I really want this child? And that was perceived by the child. So whether you had the most idyllic family dynamics, or you were a single parent and you were a single child, or a child of many, we all have a perception of things that went on in our childhood. Typically, before the age of 8 is how we're imprinted. And the reason why they're typically of 8 is because our brain is like a sponge. It's taking in information from our parents, from society, grandparents, siblings. And so you're sucking in all this information, verbal, action-oriented, and also your perception of it. So if you're like, for me, I was one of 5 daughters. So my parents got divorced when I was 8. and 7, 8. And so I was the second oldest, and every one of my sisters and I have a different perception of that divorce and how it affected us.
Mhm.
And for me, it was about abandonment. How could a father who's supposed to love you, has 5 daughters, walk out of your life never to be seen again? My older sister blamed the divorce on my mother and said she wasn't a good enough wife.
Hmm.
And so for her, she wanted to be the perfect wife. And she's been through 2 divorces and now still single. You know, she made 7-course meals. And so what I want you to realize is that you're taking on a perception of events and situations that are happening in your past. And that is a framework. It's almost like a fossilized energy imprint that lives within you. And you kind of perspire, you kind of put out that energy, that expectation. Does that resonate with you, Shelley?
It does, and I wanted to ask you, does it, there's 2 things that went through my mind. One is, does that energy settle into your body and then cause some kind of bodily reactions over time? And
Well,
then,
it can. It
and,
can. So, for example, like another one might be, let's say you had very controlling parents. They were very powerful, one or both, or even siblings that were very controlling. And so you felt like as a little child, you were powerless.
yeah.
So the power station in our chakras, we have 7 main chakras in the body, is in the stomach area. So if you felt powerless as a child, you will probably grow up feeling that I don't know how to exert myself. I don't know how to exert power. I learned to sit back. I learned to maybe go hide in the closet, to not address confrontation. I learned to be the quiet one. And that what I say, what I want to do is not important. I'm told what to do. I'm being dictated to. So you may tend to gravitate to relationships that are similar to your parents, because that's the role model that your child brain took on, that's your role in life. It's also what I believe, and it's in my book too, that our imprinting, how we view things, negatively in really most ways, is actually part of our soul, SOUL lesson. Why we actually came to Earth as a spirit. What are we here for? What are we learning as a spirit? So for this particular person who has no voice or feels powerless, is to learn to stand up against authority, to have your own strength and courage to stand up, to make a position, to realize that you're just as important as the other person, and not to be squished down and to be kind of minimized. So that particular person, if they don't address it, and usually often we don't realize what we need to address until our middle age, 30, 50, 60, something like that, where we start saying, we need to do something different. There's been repetition of what's been happening since our younger days. So this person has that controlling husband, maybe is a battered, maybe it's abusive, emotional abusive, maybe it's just a militant person, who's a strong, controlling person. And so even then what happens is your children can see that this is, let's say it was a woman, let's say that the husband's the controlling one. Well, the children are now role modeling that too. And then they show you no respect. So see how it becomes repetition and you're feeling smaller and smaller. Yeah. And you get to a point in your life, say, what am I supposed to do here? How am I supposed to address this? And it's really important to understand and clarify with be able to articulate and state what it is that is not serving you well. What is that negative imprint? And then, of course, there's an emotional component to that as well. And that's what my book helps you to discern, to identify what it is, that negative imprint that has repeated over time and it's followed you your lifetime. And then how do you change that? What do you do? How do you create different actions? How do you release the energy that's within your body? So you're right. You can actually end up having, for that person who's powerless, have stomach issues. You might have hernias, irritable bowel syndromes, a lot of weight loss or a lot of weight gain. So yes, it definitely does.
It does. You mentioned patterns, and sometimes we recognize our patterns, and sometimes we don't. And so, your book has some exercise. Can you give us an example of the type of exercise that helps us to identify the patterns in order to do something about them? What if we don't even realize?
Well, so often what we do is we blame the world. So this particular individual that we're talking about, just to make it easier for ourselves to stay with one topic, they're going to blame the world. They're going to blame everything on their husband. They're going to blame that the boss doesn't understand me. He doesn't think I'm valuable. He's just a bully. The kids don't respect me. It's blaming on everyone else. Instead of understanding that the universe has actually facilitated that your environment, your family dynamics, your work experience is all there to help create a stage, right? Because you're an actor on your stage, to help you realize this is the climax. This is you learning and rising up to address this issue that you have perceived, which is not even true, but it's the role that you took on as a very young child, and you continue to allow that to imprint you and affect you in your life. So you have to stop blaming the outside world, take personal responsibility, and empower yourself to find the power within yourself to decide, how am I going to change this, okay? And so we go through a lot of exercises, asking questions like, what is the negative thing that you think about every day? No one sees me, or no one respects me. I'm stupid. Nobody wants to know my thought. And we know it because we've thought it thousands of times. It's like, that record that we used to play in phonographs that, the needle would get stuck in a groove and it would stay in the same note in the same song. And it's the same thing. You've heard it 100,000 times and you've lived it over and over again. And so when you can actually hold on to it, now you can claim and own it and say, I'm not allowing this to continue to impact me, which is a very powerful statement, because you're empowering yourself that I get to control this. This is back as a little child, 3-year-old, that took on this perception. It has nothing to do with me now. And it has everything to do with your soul lesson of spiritual growth and expansion and what you're here to learn and do. So for me, I'm just going to tell you, now my father left, right? And, I always had a teary eye when I talked about the father who was never there. Didn't have someone walk me down for my wedding. Didn't have that father-daughter dance that women always look for, right? Mm-hmm. And then some 30 years later, one day my husband came down and said, I love you, but I can't live with you anymore. It was like I was being slapped right in the face again. How can you love someone and walk away? To me, that just makes no sense. How do you love someone and neglect them and just abandon them? And see how that pattern repeated itself in my life?
Yeah.
My perception of it, right, Shelley?
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my gosh, so it was almost like my perspiration had been expecting people that love me to walk out of my life. If I had an argument with my son, and would he leave me forever, and not be part of our family? So there was always this underlying energy, perception, and expectation that the future would become my reality.
Oh my gosh. So when you realize that, what can you do to address it? I mean, is there a healing or a realization? I mean, what does it take?
Well, it is a self-discovery. And I was like, oh my gosh, because it was realizing that, and my husband didn't tell it me, but as I started to explore, why would he do this? And by the way, we're still married, 37 years. But what it was I was always looking for that verbal confirmation that my father never gave me.
Oh, yeah.
From my husband. Now, my husband would walk the world for me. He would do anything, but he was not really overly verbally, emotionally expressive, like a lot of men. Yeah. And so, I mean, there are some men very, very, and he was very talkative and laughing and stuff, an extrovert. But when it came to saying all these lovey, gushy, romantic things, like maybe you'd want your father to say to you as a young child, he wasn't really doing that. And so there was always like, he felt I needed more from him. That it was always, can you imagine how exhausted he must be?
Yes.
Because I was always asking more. Not that I realized it, or felt it, but this is the energy that is transmitted. If you've ever heard of the law of attraction, what we put out, we receive, right? And I'm putting out, you're not giving me what I need.
Yeah.
It's not enough.
Yeah. What do I do with that as a husband? It's like, what do I do with that?
So when he said, I love you, but I can't live with you, it's like, so when I realized that, and I also had a big aha moment that I went to James Van Prague, and my stepfather came through out of 3,000 people and said some amazing things. And I want you to look at my book. I don't want to give that away. But what I really needed to learn was that I didn't need my husband or all the engineers that thought I was fabulous when I did my own business and stuff. They were not the ones that needed to make me feel great. I needed to learn my lesson that I am a strong, confident, amazing spirit person, and that it doesn't matter what anyone else says, that I had to change my mindset and realize that I didn't need to be filled at the gas tank with love from outside. I needed to be filled within myself and see my own love. And ultimately, that is what every one of us in the whole world ultimately needs to know and learn is self-love. And it's, there's the greatest commandment, if you believe in the Bible, is love your neighbor as yourself. It doesn't say love your neighbor more than yourself. Mm-hmm. And so we can be a greater giver of love when we can see our own love within ourselves. So it's a very powerful lesson. And when my stepfather came back in spirit, the very first thing he said to me on the stage was, don't change for anyone. You're perfect just the way you are. And I was trying to change to be the wife my husband wanted.
Yeah.
And I was totally miserable. And so when we learn to be who we are and stand up to what we need to learn to see our greatness, then we are powerful beyond measure. We can do amazing things. We are miraculous beings, spiritual beings. We can create miracles. We can do healings. We can do amazing things. And when we step into our greatness, this power within that I talk about, that the universe is pushing you forward. Things come into your life that you say, I could never have envisioned that. And I have so many stories, like how Marcy Shimoff wrote my foreword to my book. She picked me out of the whole world to mentor one-on-one. I never knew her.
Yeah.
She wrote 6 of the Chicken Soup for the Women's Soul. Yeah. Now that was all because of my self-awareness that I needed to learn when my husband had that happen with me. And when you're on the right road, we've all heard of people that feel like, they say, oh my gosh, I've had so many problems in my life, one after another. And then there's other people that you're smooth sailing. They have no turbulence, Yeah. And so when you're on the right road, the right path, the universe is supporting you. You're getting miracles all the time. You're making great connections. And so it's an amazing place to journey into yourself, to see how amazing you are, to rediscover yourself, and to stand up and be willing to work on the areas that you feel that you're not enough of. Not enough, not funny enough, not pretty enough, not tall enough, not whatever, smart enough, not loud enough. And we all have that. And instead of saying that's a negative in our life, please look at it as you're opening up your spiritual book, your spiritual curriculum that you've come to earth to learn. And if you don't learn it in this lifetime, guess what?
You come back and learn it the next one, right?
Try another time. So you might as well get it right now. So that's what I'm all about. I love helping people to help identify and really teach them how to transform their lives, how they view themselves, how they interact with others. And it's amazing the results you get.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like a whole new world that you never even imagined opens up to you.
It is.
At that point, yeah. So you touched on the tendencies and the beliefs that come forth from all of this debris that's lurking around from your past. How do you clear all of that? Is that the energy work that you do?
I do, and I do offer 2 meditations in the book, and there's a link to get the audio download too. And I'm actually going to offer your audience one of them tonight, regardless if they buy the book, just because I think we need all this clearing of this old karmic energetic debris, which even can come from past lives, not just this life, because as a spirit, as we know, energy is everything. You know, our piece of paper has energy, the desk, the light, the wind, everything has energy. Our breath, our emotions have energy. Everything is made up of energy. Our molecules are vibrating, so that's energy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's really important that we clear this, because it changes our mindset, it changes our action plans, it changes how we are able to express ourselves. You know, the very time a baby cries, what do we tell the baby? Don't cry. You know, so we're taught to shut off our emotions. You know, usually our spouses don't want to hear the tears, don't want to hear the complaining. You know, they think they need to fix us, where we just need to vent, women.
Yeah.
And so, you know, all of this is something that we need to discover on ourselves. And it's not that they're bad and we're bad, or whoever's bad. It's more of a matter of learning to be very much in a harmonic state within ourselves. And I talk about this because it's very hard for people to understand it, that what you really want to do is find inner peace. Find your sanctuary where all this chaos can happen around you. You know, the kids are yelling, oh, my husband hasn't done this in a long time, or my boss hasn't done this, you know, and all this craziness is going on, and you get sucked up in it, and you're spinning around trying to kind of like survive drowning. You know, you're drowning in all this chaos, and you're just getting sucked down. And what you realize is that you can be this strong person in your own harmony within yourself, and know that your strength and your faith, if you believe in God or the Creator, will get you through anything, and that it's our view of it, our perception of what's going on, that helps us deal with it. So if the kids are very combative and, you know, not doing what they need to do, instead of you trying to fix it, say, I've got to empower them to realize there's a cause and effect. If they don't do their homework, they're going to fail. It's not my job necessarily to make sure they do it. They have to take that ownership, because if you're not teaching them for them to be empowered, how could you ever be empowered yourself? So we need to not take on other people's issues to resolve. That's part of their journey, their spiritual curriculum, if you will. And so a lot of this comes out in the book. And, you know, I work with private clients and stuff, and I love coaching, and really gives people results.
It sounds like it would. You walk them through a process to realize, you know, the core root of the problems that are, you know, continuing as a pattern to manifest, and help them to do, interrupt and break that pattern, and maybe turn it around for them too, it sounds like.
It is. And, you know, you actually say, well, why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
Oh, it's happening because the universe says you need to learn to respond to this. So are you going to react the same way? I'm going to go hide in the closet because I'm having for that person who's feeling powerless, there's a situation happening where I'm being told and yelled and all this. And so what I want to do, I want to retreat. I want to withdraw. And so you might say, oh, here it's happening again. Yes, it's happening because this is the opportunity to, how do I intervene? How do I respond differently than I always reacted in the past? And when you create this shift, people see you differently. They respond to you differently. And it's not that you're doing it for them, but you're doing it for yourself. And it's really important to have someone help you with this. And the book is a great instrument, and it's very beneficial, and really creates amazing miracles in your life that you're ready to receive. You know, you can only drink in so much water. You know, you can take the horse to the water hole, but you can't make them drink. So we're only ready to take in so much. And that's what I love about my book. Every year you can read it, and you're going to gain more knowledge where you are. Your baseline changes.
Oh, I love that. So you mentioned that the Heart Home of Healing meditation for the free gift for the audience. What is the benefit that meditation brings to help in relation to the shift that you know, the aha moment or the shift that people are able to make?
Well, you know, our mind is very controlling, and it also, we can use our mind in this meditation effectively. So let's say you have stomach issues. You know, you're discomfort issues is felt there.
Mm-hmm.
So in the meditation, I actually tell you and try to encourage you to bring that shift of energy into your heart, because our heart is the organ to feel. And then through the meditation, we go through the heart's chambers. We have 4 chambers. And each room, you're going to sense another emotional component. Maybe one might be distrust. I don't trust people because I used to be tickled all the time by my father. It could have been a pleasant thing, but it could have been overdone. And now I'm afraid if someone gets close, they're going to, be too close to me. I have no control of that. So again, these often happen from past lives too, that the same cycle, because we don't address them correctly and heal that situation and learn it. So we transfer all that, we clean the debris and I put them in the different chambers of the house. And then we fill it back up with love and light and healing. And people often will say to me, send me an email letter, my stomach issues have gone away. My low back pain, I don't have anymore, because low back pain is usually indicative of not feeling supported in life. Mm-hmm. So your low back crumbles, you don't feel like you can stand on your own, you don't feel supported. And therefore you don't think you can support yourself. So often, and there's 3 pages in the book, 199 to 202, I think it is, that talks about every part of the body and what does that mean potentially. So great tool. But the meditation is really a wonderful, helps you to get rid of that energy. But also what meditation does generically, I'm not sure if that's what you were asking too, is it allows you to be quiet and to go into this space of nothingness, if you will. Mm-hmm. It could be your sanctuary, whether it's a beautiful ocean or a flower garden or whatever, or just an empty room. And it doesn't have to be a long space, but it's in this quietness that we are allowing ourselves to hear our soul, to listen to our spirit, our intuition, you might refer to it as. And I believe intuition is also a channel from divine intelligence that comes from beyond us, whether it's departed ones, angels, God, or creator, whatever word you use. And so this quietness through meditation allows the conduit, that roadway of communication. And the difference between our intuition and our mind is our intuition, the knowledge that you're given, will never steer you down the wrong road, where the mind is based on fear, on memory, pain. And so that thought from the brain is always like, oh, if you do that, you're not going to, you could potentially fall down or hurt yourself or break your hip again or whatever. Where the intuition was, oh, wow, that's going to be a great opportunity. Now, it doesn't still mean you wouldn't be scared, but it's propelling you. And of course, we have free will as human beings, right? Yes or no. So every time you have these choices, learning to trust and develop that strength in your intuition and that connection will help guide you with these decisions.
Oh, that's amazing. So centering in again on your inner, how you're feeling inside, and then being open to the intuition and the messages that come in from intuition. Right. So that clearing helps to open that channel wider.
Right.
Yes.
Oh. And the other meditation I give you as a free gift in the book is actually that. It's a divine channeling that helps to expand on that knowledge exchange.
Oh, that's amazing. So, that was such an amazing discussion, but we're actually out of time.
It goes by fast.
I know. It's awesome, though, that you were able to walk us through the techniques and the clearings and that type of thing that help the audience to make a turn when they're ready, and then center in on themselves so that their experience of their external circumstances is vastly different. And so,
yes, and I think that's a great summary. And just, your Mindset Summit covers such a wide breadth of knowledge from different experts here. And I would really encourage your viewers to realize that it's not, I'm going to change my mindset to be, more aggressive. If it was that easy as changing a light switch, up and down, we'd all be just whatever we want to be, right?
Yeah.
And so I encourage you all to, first of all, go out and buy my powerful Behind Measure book. It will help you enormously. And then if you want to reach out and work with me as a coach, that's fine too. But when you have the information of what has been holding you back, what is that repetitive patterning, the belief system that you've taken on, then you can own it and control it and say, no longer you're controlling me, I'm controlling that, by choosing to respond differently in life and wanting a life that's different. You know, I want to have independence. I want to have strength. I want to have happiness. I want the health and the joy in my life. I want inner peace. All of those things that we want, they're all attainable and they're not that hard. And when you really are understanding how to get them, it's your life will totally transform in ways that you cannot even imagine.
Oh, on that very hopeful note, I'm going to wrap it up, and I want to encourage our audience to check out Cynthia's free gift, the Heart Home of Healing Meditation, and then certainly check out her book. And the link will be posted at the bottom of the video, so definitely check it out. And Cynthia, thank you so much for joining us on the summit today. It was great to have you.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me. And if you're on Facebook, I'm on The Power Within, Cynthia Mazzaferro. Step on by and see what's going on.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Take care.